Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, the Scentrovert. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate around this time of year. Please enjoy it, spend time with your family, and I wish you well for the upcoming new year as well. As you can see here, I have my coffee, sipping my coffee, ready to go for this video. So this video is going to be the top 5 most complimented fragrances from my collection, okay, only from my collection for the year of 2019. But before we get into the meat of the video, into the list then of fragrances that we're going to be talking about, I just want to go over some housekeeping things. So the first housekeeping thing I want to do is give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber. His channel is called Pardon My Presence, okay? And it gives like an interesting point of view or social commentary on, very interesting issues that are happening in our society. Some controversial, some not so controversial, but I think I like the channel a lot because there's a message in each video, and it's not just somebody blowing hot air out of their mouth. It's nuanced arguments, and you could tell thought and research was put into it. So check out that channel. It's called Pardon My Presence. I will put a link to that channel down below in the description of this video. Okay, so the second thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that legend apparently, well, I shouldn't say apparently, he is a legend in the, I guess what you'd call the fashion / fragrance industry. His name is, or was, Emmanuel Ungaro. I read on Fragrantica.com that he apparently passed away at the age of 86 over the last few days. I think it was last Saturday apparently. And I just want to give pay a little bit of respect to him, especially because even though I feel like from what I've seen, he doesn't, like, his house didn't release an extensive line of men fragrances. There are a few that fall right into my wheelhouse of fragrances that are inexpensive but interesting, right? And one of them that I have in my collection that I'm beginning to appreciate and has become one of my favorite fragrances in my collection, that fragrance is Emmanuel Ungaro Pour Homme 3. And the reason why I like this fragrance, or it's one of my fragrances in my collection, is because it's unique. I mean, there aren't that many fragrances on the market right now that have a combination of rose and vodka. And I just wanted to give a shout out to him because his house put out this fragrance, and I just want to say, I guess, condolences to his family. But yeah, this is an interesting fragrance to look into if you're looking for scents that are unique, that have the note of rose and vodka, and kind of have a bit of a mixture of old school and modern vibe kind of mixed together in one. Okay, that's what this fragrance kind of has. But I'll definitely do a separate review or a separate video just for this fragrance in the future. Okay, so the third thing I want to talk about before I get into the meat of this video, and again, you can skip ahead if you just want to get right into the list, is personally for me, I don't believe in the idea of getting fragrances only because you want compliments from the opposite sex, okay? I feel like you should be buying fragrances that you yourself like the smell of, and I guarantee you if you do that, somebody, especially women, will give you a compliment eventually. It's only a matter of time. First one is Bentley Momentum Intense. Okay, so this fragrance right here, let me get out of the box quickly. This fragrance from right here, from the house of Bentley, is again a pretty, as I tend to only bring up fragrances in my videos that are inexpensive. I believe you can get this for around $35 Canadian for a 100 milliliter bottle. And this is essentially a fragrance that is very similar to Carolina Herrera CH for Men. Okay, and that fragrance has a smell of almost like burnt sugar with leather undertones. Except this fragrance takes that DNA and makes it more wearable throughout the year by including a note of lavender, okay, and giving it more of a fresh, spicy, cooling aspect to this fragrance. So that you can use, I think, all year round, and for multiple occasions. For work, I think this would be okay for, casual events, even, clubbing. If you spray, at least 5-6 times, I think this would do well for you. So in that sense, it is a bit of a signature scent as well. But yes, this fragrance got me noticed when I was in a restaurant ordering takeout. A lady behind me smelled what I was wearing, like I heard her sniff it. And then she just out of the blue just tried to strike up conversation with me. And this is the fragrance that I was wearing when that happened. So again, that's Bentley Momentum Intense. Okay, so the next fragrance that got me noticed is the fragrance from L'Artisan Parfumeur called Timbuktu. Now I know frag heads definitely know this fragrance. This is from a niche house, L'Artisan Parfumeur, and I have here a 30 milliliter bottle, and I paid about $45 Canadian for this. The reason why I like this fragrance so much because it's very atmospheric. It's one of those fragrances that almost transports you to another place in the world, and very few fragrances I find do that. And this is definitely one of them. And if you just read the side of the box, it kind of gives a very good indication into what this fragrance is all about. It says on the side of the box, it's inspired by the perfume rituals of Mali, West Africa. French sophistication meets the mystery of the Sahara. A wild and vibrant fragrance, woody and spicy. Contains the notes of cardamom, benzoin, coral, corande, papyrus wood, and vetiver. The opening is very exotic. Definitely transports you into another world, halfway across the world, so to speak. And the prominent notes to me are a bit of like an incensey, resinous type feel to it, but it's not your typical westernized or European type incense resin. It's very, it just gives a smell of either emanating from the continent of Africa or South Asia. It has a very exotic, interesting smell to it. And as it dries down, it goes into a more of a clean vetiver type note, okay? But it doesn't get all the way there. It still has more of that exotic kind of incensey feel to it. But even though it kind of has an exotic incensey feel, it's still not a thick fragrance where you can't wear it in the springtime. I think this is one you can wear for all 3 seasons. Summer might be pushing it, but definitely for all 3 seasons and for multiple occasions, I think. This is a very interesting fragrance. And when I got notice from this, when I was in a store shopping and I had freshly sprayed this on, multiple people were sniffing. I could hear them sniffing as I was walking by them. And I can tell they were trying to wrap their head around what they were smelling, because this definitely has a very unique smell to it that is not westernized at all, in my opinion. This fragrance right here, Arkadiy Noir Sport. This fragrance, man, I was very pleasantly surprised when I first put my nose on this fragrance, because this smells like watery, slightly fruity black ink. Okay, and that black ink note is really the vetiver. And you can tell the vetiver note is very different than the typical vetiver note you'd smell. It has a smoky, very fruity quality to it, but that rootiness is tempered by them adding a grapefruit and almost aquatic note to this fragrance. But it's not your typical aquatic note that you would find in a fragrance like, you know, Invictus Aqua. No, this is almost like an aquatic note that you would get if you were walking in the forest and you were surrounded by trees and you were walking upon a fresh swamp. You know what I mean? Like, this is another one of those fragrances in my collection that creates a certain atmosphere, atmospheric smell around you. And it's definitely signature scent worthy all year round. Okay, so this one definitely got me a compliment from a woman, and it again shows you that you don't have to buy any of those mainstream fragrances that are, you know, very easy on the nose. This is not a fragrance that at first is easy. Yes, it's definitely easier than the original Arkadiy, but it's unique enough that even though it's called a sport fragrance, I honestly don't think it's a fragrance that you would probably... I mean, you could wear this fragrance to the gym, but I think it's kind of being wasted in the gym. It's so much more interesting than your typical gym, easy breezy type scent, right? Okay, the next fragrance that got me an explicit compliment is this one. And it's Alexandria Fragrances Arabian Forest, which, if most of you don't know, is a fragrance that's inspired by Creed's Spice and Wood. Now, I really was impressed with this fragrance when I first bought it and I smelled it, because at first it's a bit kitcheny. Like, it has a very kitchen, you know, spicy or spices, or I should say a spice rack type feel to it when you first spray it. The notes that I get when you first spray it is apple, pepper, and woods. And at first you think that's all you're gonna get until it starts to dry down and it smoothly transitions into this almost, I wouldn't say powdery, but it's sort of like a floral aspect to it with the iris, okay, the iris flower note that starts to come out a little bit more. And it starts to get more cleaner and a bit of like a fresh laundry type vibe to it. And in my opinion, man, it's a pretty much a dead on inspiration of Creed's Spice and Wood. I would not spend, you know, the $300 to get Spice and Wood, but you can just get this for what, $42 American. And last but not least, which is, I'm sure, a scent probably most of you would be surprised to hear has gotten me compliments. And it's an old fragrance. It's been out since the 1990s, and it's called Eau de Rocher by Rojas, or I should say Eau de Rojas by Rojas. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but yeah, this fragrance is said to be very comparative to Eau Sauvage by Dior, and I wouldn't say they're not exactly the same. And this fragrance has, in my opinion, for the price, okay, this is a very cheap fragrance. You get this for $23. I paid $23 for this for the 50 milliliter bottle. But the opening of this fragrance has one of the most realistic lemon and lime openings that I've ever smelled so far in my fragrance journey. For this price, you can't get a better, like, almost photorealistic lemon and lime. Like, it has that tartness, that's very citrusy smell, and almost that sweetness too from the lemon. And it's absolutely beautiful. And along with that, it has that very aldehydic backdrop to this fragrance. And in case if you don't know what the note of aldehydes adds to a fragrance. It's essentially adds a soapy, waxy, lemony, floral type effect to a fragrance. So it's almost like, in my opinion, that note adds depth to this fragrance, where I feel like you could actually, it's not designed to be worn in cooler weather, but I wore this yesterday and I can tell people were noticing me when I was walking by them. This is a fragrance that has decent staying power for what it is, which is basically a citrusy, lemony, lime type scent. And you can wear it pretty much in all scenarios. People should give more love to this fragrance. I know it is talked about quite a bit whenever people bring up the fragrance of Eau Sauvage by Dior, but to me, I find this better, and it's way better than Eau Sauvage because it's smoother, right? And that's what I love. I love fragrances that are smooth to smell, and this is definitely one of them. So I hope you like that list. Again, thank you for watching my channel. Stay tuned for my next video, which will be a top 10 for cold weather, which I know I'm quite late in putting that out, but stay tuned for that. I'll have 10 fragrances for you that you can use for fall and winter weather. Like, comment, subscribe, holla back.